Again, now Andre de Ruyter has made damning allegations of widespread plundering of Eskom resources, and that was earlier this year. But his appearance in front of Scopa has left the committee with more questions than answers. And today, members of parliament have been posing some of those tough questions to the Eskom board to get their version of events. Let's find out now the latest from our reporter in Cape Town, Ayesha Ismail, how today's sessions went. Good afternoon, Ayesha. Welcome to today, and thank you very much for your time. Now, I understand in present today in that Scopa hearing, among others, was the former Eskom board chair and Professor Malfeasance Makgoba, who said matters would have been different if law enforcement had played their role effectively.
That is correct, Dan. But just to start off, to give a bit of context, you will recall that yesterday members of the various law enforcement agencies appeared before Scopa. And just like yesterday, the members of Scopa grilled the board members of Eskom this morning. Now, on the one hand, we heard from the current chairperson of Eskom, Makgoba, that he was not aware of the private investigation conducted by or rather commissioned by Andre de Ruyter into the rot that was happening at Eskom. We know now that Andre de Ruyter was talking about malpractices, about corruption, and also about sabotage taking place at Eskom. And he then went and got a private investigation to do this. The current chairperson of Eskom says he was not aware of this. He was not told about this by Andre de Ruyter, although Andre de Ruyter says that he did inform the current board. However, the former chairperson of Eskom says that he was informed by Andre de Ruyter that he had initiated a private investigation. He says he then asked Andre de Ruyter whether he had informed SAPS, whether he had informed the Hawks, whether he had informed the president, and whether he had informed the Minister of Public Enterprises. This is what Professor Malfeasance Makgoba said today on the virtual platform.
What I've heard from the presentation from the board of Eskom today doesn't contradict what Mr. de Ruyter has said, because in his own presentation, he alluded to all of these issues, and he did make a statement to the effect that progress has been made. So he didn't articulate in details as to what we have heard around oil fuel, around free tax, but he did indicate that progress had been made, and these were issues that concerned, I think, Mr. de Ruyter during his term. The second point I wish to make is that if SAPS and the Hawks had done their work effectively and efficiently, we wouldn't be meeting here as a committee today. I can discuss that maybe in broader details when I get to the cross questions. Thirdly, that the issue that Mr. de Ruyter undertook was an operational matter, because Eskom at the time was besieged with sabotage and corruption, and we were not getting any, mileage from the law enforcement agencies.
The voice of Professor Malfeasance Makgoba, former chair of the board. Now, Ayesha, the power utility has made some progress apparently in tracking and tackling corruption, alleged corruption within the entity. Can you tell us more?
Well, they're spending about 2 billion rand on upping their security, on protecting the power utilities assets, on also safeguarding the infrastructure. And the head of security also talked about the fact that they have outdated equipment, and of course they need to update that now. So much so that some of this money, the 2 billion, is being spent on upgrading security measures. This is what Karen Pillay had to say to the Scopa meeting today.
More than 50 illegal coal yards and dump sites have been identified in the Mpumalanga area. Insofar as the complexity of crimes are concerned, there is certainly an indication of an organized element that exists, and as indicated and alluded to by my previous colleagues, certainly does involve involvement of internal resources, Eskom employees and contractors, as well as external parties. For this reason, Chair, specific cases have been escalated to the Organized Crime Unit of the SAPS, and to date, Chair, we have 44 arrests that have been affected. We have reported since April last year 83 cases to the DPCI, of which 76 arrests were effected. There are 12 organized crime cases of various nature that have been referred to the Asset Forfeiture Unit as well as SARS for further probing, and at least 5 criminal kingpins have been identified linked to syndicated activity, predominantly around coal, fuel and diesel.
Now, Ayesha, as you said yesterday, we had the law enforcement agencies at Scopa being grilled. Today was the turn of the Eskom board and some of the senior executives of the power utility. Do we know what's next now in relation to Scopa's discussions or inquiry, so to speak, into this Eskom debacle?
Well, members of Scopa were clearly not impressed with the answers that they got from Eskom today, so much so that the chairperson did say they would want Eskom back at Scopa, and he did indicate that this could happen as early as next week. What we do know for sure is that on Wednesday, the Minister of Public Enterprises, Pravin Gordhan, will be appearing before Scopa.
Okay, thank you very much, Ayesha Ismail. We'll have to wait and see what is going to happen there.